Martha Blessing, and you're about to start transforming your life and creating the freedom that you desire with this podcast. For over 15 years, I've coached and mentored conscious creators on 4 continents around the world. Here, you won't find a bunch of hype or super inflated rah-rah motivation, because this podcast is a combination of brain science, universal spiritual laws, and ancient wisdom and spiritual teachings, all rolled into one to take your life to levels you've never dared to imagine were possible. If you're wanting more from life, to feel better, to heal, to have a peaceful mind, to feel empowered and alive, and to bring more abundance and prosperity into your life, then this podcast is for you. Because you're going to start learning how to master your mind, expand and grow your consciousness, and when you do that, you can create the place to be free, and anything you want then becomes possible for you. I'm so glad you're here. Okay, let's jump right in. As I mentioned last week in the last episode, I'm going to talk today about the 5-step methodology. Actually, I'm going to begin a series. This will be the first of 5 about the 5 steps and the methodology that I use with my clients. And it's the methodology that I've used in my life. I have used it for nearly 3 decades. And of course, there have been some adaptations to it over the years. Honestly, it's only gotten better as I've refined it, and I have moved through everything that I have moved through in my life. But the benefits of this methodology is that it can be repeated over and over and over and over again in any area of your life or every area of your life. It is a foundation that, quite honestly, I have found it to be flawless. And that's kind of a big claim, right? But what I mean by that is if you use it, if you apply it, it really, truly is flawless. That's the good news. Now, why is that? Because it's timeless. It is using mental science and energy and frequency and consciousness, which that's what the whole universe, that's what you and I and everything and everyone in the universe is made of and from. So that's why it's flawless. Like, it's these universal laws and the frequency and the mental science and consciousness, we can't get it wrong. It absolutely puts you in charge of your story so that you no longer fight with your subconscious mind or feel like you're the victim to the frequency that you are being and experiencing in your life. So the first of these 5 steps, the first of the foundations is, no matter what area of your life you're feeling challenged in, whether it's health or well-being, whether it's career or relationships or family and friends, whatever it is, the first step is that you have to get to the cause. Okay, you have to figure out what the core cause, what the root cause of this situation, this challenge, this imbalance is that you don't want to be experiencing. What is its root core cause? Now, that may sound very simplistic and almost ridiculous that I'm saying and asking you what's the cause of something. But you have to understand that the law of cause and effect is one of the universal laws, and it is always in action. We have been led to think and believe that everything is random in the universe, that it's just chaos. We've been led to believe that there's just nothing but chaos and everything is in chaos and there is no order to the universe. But that is absolutely not true. Everything works by this law of cause and effect, whether we realize it or understand it or not. And so if we want to understand how we've arrived at a situation, if you want to understand how and why you have arrived at a situation that you're in your life that you don't want, you've got to look at the fact that the situation is the effect portion of the law of cause and effect, and there is an absolute and deliberate cause that created the results that you're experiencing. Now, what I'm going to talk about, what most people don't realize, and I quite honestly didn't realize this for years, racking my brain, having studied and read and experienced all of these concepts and authors and spirituality and metaphysics and law of attraction. And, you may have heard me mention before, I used to own a brick and mortar business, a spiritual book and gift store. I mean, I had every book ever written on this stuff, right? Or I should say the most more modern day books. That would be more correct. And so I felt like I had done it all. I was like, what's going on here? Why am I still in this place? What am I missing? I know that so many people feel the same way that I did. And I talk to them every single day, clients and potential clients in my healing and mentoring and coaching business. It's the number one question. They're always asking me, how do I get out of this? Or how do I create change? This is the how. Getting to the cause, and then also getting to where its home is, right? Which is in your subconscious mind. But you first have to get to the cause. So let's explore that. That happens to be one of the gifts in my wheelhouse, working as a mentor and a coach and a soul seer and an energy alchemist, is being able to see, I'm able to see the cause within a person's energy and in their mental energy and frequency. And it's one of the things that I like the most about my work is being able to help people break through this. So I teach best through example and actual real life experiences. And so I'm going to share a case study with you. It's a friend who it's just the perfect example for me to convey how this core cause is active and when it's unconscious or subconscious, and we don't even realize that it's at work, that it's at play in our lives, and how it keeps us from what it is that we want, or at the very minimum, it delays the results that we're looking for or the achievements that we're looking for. This person will remain nameless. It's someone who is in my inner circle, and he's been trying to free himself from events and energies that are draining him in his life. He is an entrepreneur and a business owner and is very successful. He is brilliant and intelligent and has numerous successful enterprises and businesses. Okay. But the situation here is that it's been going on for about 3.5, nearly 4 years that he has been dealing with lawsuits related to both personal and professional areas of his life. What is going on here, right? How does a person create all this success and then have these other energies and not seem to be able to clear them from his life and his field? This is not, it may come off a little bit as like a male, female, patriarch, matriarch. I'm not bashing the patriarch or the male gender in any way. There are things that are inherent in the masculine and the feminine, and that's going to be evident in this story. So I just wanted to kind of preface that, right? He has been using for 3.5, 4 years, his mind, his intellect to try to push through and power through these challenges and these struggles, right? Because that's what we are taught, especially in a man's world, so to speak. That's what is inherent in our culture. And again, I don't mean to be insulting in any way, but this is just, it exists, right? Like it's no surprise when we think about the male culture and it is about the intellect more than it is about the feeling, the going out since caveman time of going out, getting the kill, bringing home the bacon, so to speak, right? This is the energy that is inherent in this. And so it's not surprising. This is what he's doing. He's trying to power through mentally with the intellect to fix this problem. It's not going away. So we know definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and expecting to get a different result, right? So if this intellect, if this powering through, it's draining him, the challenges continue to be there. It's draining his energy. It's draining his life force. It's draining some of his financial resources. And he feels that it's taking him away from what it is he truly wants to do, right? Like, this is just in the way. I need to get this over. I need this to be out of my life. I need it to go away so that I can then move on. And I get that. But if you go back and you listen to the episode where I talk about time and time being an illusion, then we have this idea, oh, I have to get this out of my way before I can move on, before I can have what it is that I want, which is absolutely not true. What he wants is already here, and it's existing right now in the same space and place and time that the things that he doesn't want are here. So do we really have to believe that I can't move forward until this is out of the way? Part of that is a subconscious mind, and part of it is a belief so that it can actually support the story, which is, as you're going to see, part of the cause. So what's really going on here, what I want you to think about is, if using this intellect and power to push through was the answer, and throwing more money at attorneys was the answer, it would have been completed by now. It wouldn't take 3.5, 4 years. It would have been completed. What's really going on here is you have to observe that nothing has changed. And so we need to ask different questions. We need to ask, what is the cause? What is at the core of what's going on here? Why this has not been cleared from the consciousness, from the energy of this person's life, because everything is happening in our consciousness. Now, there's some people who will say, well, this is just the legal system. That's how it is. But I don't believe that for a second, because I know a ton of people who do not get in lawsuits and don't drag things on. So we live in a world of attraction, and things can be cleared instantaneously. We know that. We also know that we can't fix a problem with the same mind that created it. It's the subconscious mind. It's a resistance to our story, which is the cause. That's what's really going on here, is there is a story in the subconscious mind that is in resistance to what's going on. So I'm going to demonstrate that, because it's a subconscious mind that's created this story and this belief that's keeping this situation in the 3D world and keeping him stuck, because the law of cause and effect, right? The law is the law. And so it states, like, these things specifically should be cleared and turned over and taken care of and fixed in, right, like a court of law, the legal aspect. Why is the energy going round and round in circles and nothing has changed? Let's ask a different question. What's really going on here? What is the truth about this? That's the question that you want to bring to any situation where you feel stuck and challenged. What is the truth about this? And you've heard me say this before in other podcasts. Got to switch the energy out of powering through with the intellect and take a step back and ask, what is the truth about this? What is really going on here? And or the question, what is this trying to teach me? Why does this keep showing up in my life? Now, quite honestly, when I was in situations that kept showing up in my life, I had a negative energy around it. It was less of inquiring about it than it was beating myself up for it. Like, oh my God, why does this keep happening? Why does this keep showing up? Right? A negative energy to it, versus bringing the energy of being inquisitive and exploratory and moving into an expansion and creating space around it without any guilt or shame or judgment, self-judgment, and saying, what is this trying to teach me? The reason why this still is in my life. And so we come back to the law of cause and effect. There is a reason, there is a direct cause why this effect, the lawsuits, keep happening. So how do we get at it? How do we uncover the cause so that we can change the effect? That's what we want to come to. So instead of being in attack mode and being in beast mode, he could get out of this intellectual mode of attack, bring a spiritual consciousness, the metaphysical field, meta meaning beyond the physical, and deal with it in the universal spiritual laws in that realm. What could these events be wanting to show me about my beliefs or about myself? What is it here to teach me? And where am I holding the cause within myself or my life, right? Law of cause and effect. Where am I holding the cause within myself, within my life or my beliefs or my story that is giving me these results, this effect? So let's break it down. The effects that he's experiencing are struggle, conflict, fighting, pushing against, not getting anywhere, spending a lot of money, taking too much time, right? Like he's always saying, I don't have time, I don't have time. Feeling attacked, feeling powerless. These are all things that he has verbalized. And these are the effects that he doesn't want. So it's slowing him down, and he has the perception that it's slowing him down and preventing him from what it is that he truly wants. It's eating up his time, which is of value to him. He wants to free up time. So number one, that could be a pattern of resistance, but more likely it's actually a program in the subconscious mind that he got from childhood. And let me just say this. It may seem obvious as I'm speaking it, but when you are living it, because this is what my experience was when I was in it and when I was living it and I was unaware and unconscious of the patterns, it seems very real. The key there is that it's unconscious. We don't even recognize and realize that these patterns and programs are active in us, in our being. So these patterns are running the show. They're running the story, the identity that we are upholding. What happens is that we made agreements when we were younger, when we didn't know any better. And quite honestly, as good as I am at helping other people, when I couldn't see these patterns and programs, it was mind-boggling to me. Now I see them quickly and easily. It takes almost no time to move through them because I'm aware. But let me tell you how insidious the subconscious mind is to get you to repeat these old agreements and patterns and trip you up if you aren't aware of the cause. So let's take a look at what some of these causes, what these agreements look like for him, for this person. And I'm going to bring them up as questions, right? So that you could apply these to your own life, to your own situation, to your own challenge, to understand, to ask the right questions. If you had this pattern, and it's very common, where have you felt attacked before? Since that's one of the themes, where have you felt that you were being attacked in your life? Where did you get the belief that you have to fight for everything that you want? I mean, so many of us in our culture, we are taught to work hard. You have to fight for everything that you want, right? Especially if we grew up in any kind of environment where we heard this story. I'm old enough, many people are old enough, right? We hear stories from our parents about living through the Great Depression. It's a program that has been ingrained in many people. That story is everything has to be hard. Everything worth having, you have to work hard for it. You have to work your fingers to the bone. So this is an ingrained program and pattern. And there's a sense of competition inherent in it, right? You have to fight for what you want. People can attack you. People can take things from you anytime they want. And this creates the idea, the fear, because it's always fear of some kind, we have to be on guard. We can never let our guard down. Always be looking over your shoulder, right? Fear, safety, security, survival. He's even verbalized that he feels that people are attacking his character. So let's look at that from the law of cause and effect. Let's look at that from the program of I always have to defend myself. Somewhere in there, the cause is taking on a pattern in the mind, in the subconscious mind, from either one or both parents of not being good enough. If you have to defend yourself, you have shame and guilt, you're not good enough. You have to prove your value. You have to justify everything to the external world and prove your worth and your value by defending yourself. And I totally get this one, right? Like if you've listened to any of the podcasts, you know, in my work, I used to say that I was literally dipped in shame every single day of my life by my mother. And I didn't realize how deep it went until I actually started to find my way out of all the shame and the guilt. Now, if you take the shame and the guilt one step further in relation to this law of cause and effect and the story, what's going on is the tape that's underneath the surface in the subconscious mind about not being good enough and not worthy. You will create situations like lawsuits to actually keep you from enjoying life and having all of the good things that you want. There's the agreement to uphold. There's the cause and the effect. If you don't feel worthy to receive, you won't allow yourself to let it be easy and let it be fun and have all of the good come into your life. Your subconscious mind will sabotage you and get you to attract these events to sabotage yourself, to uphold the agreement that we made with our parents that we're going to do just like they did and live in struggle. And quite honestly, this is just a program. It's just a belief. It's really just absolute bullshit that was programmed into us. It was our parents' fear. It was their pattern. They probably got it from their parents. And this is how we continue the patterns generation after generation after generation with these old paradigms, never even recognizing and realizing where it comes from and how damaging it is. So we have to get at what is the truth here, what's really going on. What is the story? What is the belief? What is the cause? Why am I experiencing these results and effects? Why are these lawsuits going on and on and on and on after 3.5, 4 years? Now you begin to see there is a pattern going on underneath, running the unconsciousness. But if we keep pushing with the intellect, we look at the results. It's not creating change. It can't. It can't, because who he is being in his energy and his frequency is the identity and the story of someone who believes that it has to be hard, that people can take things from me at any point in time. Someone can come after me. It's not safe. My success isn't safe. My money isn't safe. My business isn't safe. This is who he is being. This is the internal energy and frequency of someone is either attacking my pocketbook or my bank account or my character. So who I am being is not good enough and not worthy to be free from this. And pretty much inherent in that, there is also a belief that the universe is not on my side. This isn't unusual. It's not unique. Quite honestly, I had the same beliefs for most of my life until I uncovered the program, until I uncovered the truth. And I chose to rewrite the story and have a new identity. When I recognized that I didn't have to keep that identity that my parents programmed into me. And for some of us, it was parents and churches and schools, institutions. It's everywhere in our culture and the societal programming. So as soon as he changes his belief and he gets at the cause and sees the cause and is aware of what's going on, these things will go away because he now has the opportunity to change his internal frequency, his internal being within his body and his brain and his mind. And when he does that, he releases all of these events. The cause is different. He is being different. And so there's no way. That's why I said this is flawless, because once you change the internal and the inside and the beliefs and the programs, the outside will reflect it. It will go away. It's no longer part of his frequency and identity. This is how cause and effect happens and shapes our world. So because he is no longer a frequency of shame, guilt, and fear, the effect will no longer be the same. Is this making sense? This is why cause is so very, very, very important. And it's the first step that I use with clients is getting to the cause. And it's why it's the first step, because if you don't do this first, you will never get resolution. right? You can reparent your inner child. This is why people go to therapy. It's why, they go on and on and on when they come to me. I've tried everything. They haven't gotten to the cause. They haven't gotten to this program and these agreements that are still running. And it doesn't matter whether you're trying to heal a physical ailment, whether you're trying to improve a relationship, whether it's your marriage or you're trying to build a business. This is true in every area of our life. Whatever it is you want to correct and change, you've got to get at the cause that is active underneath. Now, for most people, it's pretty much no matter what the cause is, they're all different, but they're the same. The result, the effect is I'm not lovable, I'm not good enough. And that's what's active. So really, if you want to fast forward this whole process, moving through the cause, those will be the two things that will be prevalent. Now, once you have that, you have to recognize that the other piece is, what are the agreements that you made as a result of this cause? Where are you manifesting and bringing into your life events to help you uphold this agreement that you've made to, your parents from when you were a very young child and you didn't even know that you made it, and you're keeping it alive in your life right now? What's happening is that the events are what keep the story alive. They keep the identity, the old identity alive. So the effects, the lawsuits, the attacks, these are the events and the effects that are keeping the story alive for him so that he can keep the same identity of someone who has to live in struggle and conflict because he feels unworthy and unlovable. To get this? Does that make sense? The events are what we are creating to keep the story and the old paradigm and the old agreements alive and active in us as a pattern, as a frequency. And the thing is that we think this is completely normal because it's what we witnessed, right? It's what we witnessed. It's why children of alcoholics often end up with alcoholic spouses or partners, because it just seems so normal to them. We don't think anything else. It's what we got programmed to from an early age. And quite honestly, really even before we were born, when we were in utero, because the energy that our parents was being transferred to us at conception and all through pregnancy and in utero. So from that time to about 9 years old, this is the pattern and the frequency that we know and we recognize. So how do we find our way out of this pattern and out of this struggle? If you're having challenges in your life and you want to change them, there's a couple of questions that you want to ask yourself. Number one is, what is the cause? Dig into what could possibly be the cause and where did you learn this pattern, right? Like for me, I had a lot of illness in my life. Why did I agree to it? Why did I take it on? Well, it got me attention. It got me sympathy. I didn't have to be accountable. I didn't have to be responsible. And I could say, oh, it's not my fault, right? Or I couldn't help it because I had this or I had that or, whatever, right? So there's always a pattern. We're getting something out of it. Where could you have made this agreement where you would have seen or heard this pattern that you are living right now in your life earlier from a parent or a caregiver? So start to ask those questions so that you can identify the pattern and then ask yourself, what would I have to do? Who would I have to be or become in order to have these events change or go away? So in this example, who would he have to be in order for these lawsuits and these effects to go away? Because we have to change it at the cause level, which means we have to be someone different. We have to think differently. We have to act differently. We have to believe differently. And you've heard me say it before in other podcasts, being is first cause. Being is first cause. What do I mean by that? Who are we being? Who is he being? Who are you being? So who he is being right now that is getting this cause and effect is he is being someone who has struggle. Who would he have to be to not have that? He would have to be someone who believes that the universe is on his side. He would have to be someone who believes that nobody could take anything from him, that the universe is always fulfilling our desires and our needs and leading us to our destiny. He would have to be a person who believes that everything comes from God through people, and that there is an endless and limitless supply of goodness and resources in the world. He would have to believe that no one can keep him from his supply. He would have to let go of probably what's considered, part of the male mindset of competition and be in a state of cooperation, that there's more than enough to go around. I can have what I need, let them take whatever they want. I don't need to fight, and I'll still get my needs met. So if he becomes someone who believes in an infinite God and an infinite universe that is always here to support us and be on our side, he could not be at the same time someone who feels that someone could sue him or take things from him at any time. They can't line up. They can't match up. He could not be a person in his being, in his mind, in his energy that feels that he has to defend his character. He would feel worthy and be in self-love. He would have to be a person who sees and identifies and doesn't believe in the stories of the subconscious mind about shame and guilt and being unworthy and having to work hard. And he would have to be a person who opens up his spiritual awareness and consciousness and believes in the spiritual laws and the infinite nature of God, source, whatever it is, whatever word works for you, right? Once you see this, let's talk about your big takeaway from this episode. Once you see that there's a program running and it's cause and effect, you can bring it up out into the open and you can backtrack and look at, okay, this is the effect, what created it, the story and the identity of who you were being. And now you can rewrite the story and the identity, and you take action from that place. And what does that look like? Well, quite honestly, I'll be transparent. My experience with this was, well, you've heard me say it before, we become what we practice. In the beginning, it feels very, very foreign because we're used to being a certain way. And so we have to practice our way to being this new way because we've been practicing a certain way our whole life. Right? I practiced victim and struggle a large portion of my life. And for many of us, if we've been practicing this for 30, 40, 50 years, I have a client who's 72 years old, right? So she's been practicing what was familiar to her, the opposite of what she wanted for a very, very long time. And it can happen quickly, but this is where most people fall down. And why they don't have success is because they don't realize that it's a practice and that you have to continue to practice. It's constant space repetition is what my mentor taught me and what I teach all of my clients. It is a process of practicing the new being until you are it. I had to recognize and practice this until it no longer was a part of me. Till I let go of the stories that I got from people and places and times that were no longer relevant to my well-being and my success and what it is I wanted from life. And so now I see it and I see it quickly and I know what the opposite of it is and I move towards that. You tell yourself, let me start practicing that, what it is that I want, which we're going to go into that in the next podcast about clarity, right? Because you do have to have clarity. You can uncover the cause, but the next step is clarity. You have to have clarity and you have to practice in the direction of what it is that you desire. So you've got to know what that is. And one of the pieces I don't like about the law of attraction, it doesn't work for most people, is that they think there's some kind of magic that they're just sitting around waiting to have happen and drop in their lap. No, you need to practice this new way of being. It is a new frequency and a new energy, and it happens internally from the inside out. And then the exterior reflects it back to you. That's why nothing has changed for this gentleman. He wants the outside to change and the lawsuits to go away, but he is still a person who is seeing himself in these stories and these identities that he is unaware and unconscious of. It's all about transforming from the inside out. You change your thoughts. You recognize the old pattern. You create a new one that is in alignment with what you desire. I tell people, I give them the example, it's like creating a new path in a field. If you come upon a field or a meadow and you need to get to the other side of it, there's something on the other side. You have to start, if you go in a different direction each time, you'll never create a path. But if you go in the exact same pattern and direction repeatedly, before you know it, there will be a space where all of those herbs or weeds or whatever, grasses and things, where you'll get to the ground, you'll get to dirt, there'll be a path and a pattern, and you follow that. So you've created one of those for everything you don't want, and now you need to create one for the new direction and being of who you will become for what you do want. Observe the cause and observe the pattern. It will try to trip you up, I'm not going to lie, because the old patterns and the old cause, it's a habit. It's a habit, but a habit is nothing more than something you have practiced your whole life, and your mind and your being recognizes it, and you can create a new one. When you are aware of the cause, you can now choose differently in the moment. And then you say, do I want to choose from this old pattern, this old program, or do I want to choose from the new one? Who would I have to be a person who experiences a different effect, who experiences what it is that I want? Okay, so put this into action this week. Let me know about your results. Come back and leave a comment on this episode page. Or if you want help getting to the cause that's keeping you stuck, reach out to me on the website at marthablessing.com. In the next episode, I'm going to be sharing with you the next step in the 5-part methodology, and that is about getting clarity. And I'm going to be sharing how important it is for getting results and moving forward. Honestly, clarity is the one step that so many people really have trouble with. You wouldn't think so, but it truly is. They have lost touch with themselves, with their purpose and their destiny, and they've let fear and low confidence and uncertainty take over their minds. So I hope you'll join me for that episode next week. If you're not already subscribed to the podcast, be sure that you subscribe on whatever platform it is that you listen to the podcast on, so that you don't miss an episode. And if you found value from this episode, please do me a favor, leave a review over on Apple Podcasts. My mission is to help as many people as possible to transform their lives and achieve their dreams and their destiny, and to step into their greatness so that we can all create a better world. And when you leave a review there, it helps get the podcast out to more and more people in the world. I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for listening to the Place to Be Free podcast. And if you liked what you heard and you want to know more, go to marthablessing.com/free stuff.